The principal's office.
Yeah.
The library.
We're at 6:01 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Director Woodward.
Here.
Director Gupta. Here. Director Medard. Director Proctor.
Here.
Director Berger. Here. Director Vandet.
Here.
Director Garcia.
Could everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will consider approval of the agenda. In the case of an emergency, items may be added to the agenda by a majority vote of the board of directors. An emergency is defined as a work stoppage, a crippling disaster, or other activity that severely imperils public health, safety, or both. Items on the agenda may be taken on sequential order as the priorities determined by the board of directors. The board may take action on any item appearing on the agenda. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, before the board takes action, can I have 2 quick minutes to address something? There's a typo on item 9F. That should be approval of resolution number 2025-0724. The actual resolution that's attached to the packet has the correct year. It's just with minor typo on the agenda. And then ahead of the closed session item, I'll be making a verbal announcement for a closed session based on Government Code Section 54956.8. I'll do it again right before the closed session, but that's going to be an opportunity for the board to discuss the status of real property negotiations for the ECRMC property. So I'll make the full disclosure ahead of the closed session. But I wanted to bring that to the board's attention at this point.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
And I so move with the correction and addition.
Seconded.
I have a motion by Gibson, second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Carries. Now we'll move on to item 6, public comments. At this time, the board will have comments on any agenda item. If any person wishes to be heard, they shall stand as the president, identify themselves, and state the subject for the comment. Time limit for each speaker is 3 minutes. Individually, for items to address board, individuals who wish to speak on multiple items will be allowed 4 minutes in total. A total of 15 minutes shall be allocated for each item for all members of the public. The board may find necessary to limit the total time allowable for all public comments on items not appearing on the agenda at any meeting to 1 hour. Do we have anybody here for public comment? None. Move on to item 7, board comments, reports on meetings and events attended by directors. Authorization for directors' attendance at upcoming meetings and. Do we have any updates from any directors? Anything to be attended? If not, I don't think we have a report. Report by AB918 negotiation ad hoc committee. I'll toss that to you.
Sure. I have a brief report for the benefit of the public and the board. We have been in continued discussions with the city and ECRMC regarding the asset transfer agreement, which, as you know, this board approved on June 26th. There is a version of the asset transfer agreement that has been modified slightly from the June 26th version, but in our opinion, not substantively, that we sent over to the city for consideration. So we believe that if the city approves that version, we are ready to sign it and move forward. It's my understanding ECRMC already also is okay with that version. And we believe the bondholder, who is not a party to that agreement, is also approving of that version. So it's sitting with the city. The city has a special meeting on Monday. We hope the city will consider and approve the asset transfer agreement at that time. And we continue to look forward to work with the city and ECRMC in good faith over the next couple of days to make sure that happens. So that's the latest and greatest on the asset transfer agreement.
We'll move on to item A, consent calendar. Any member of the board may request that items from the consent calendar be removed for discussion. Items that are removed shall be acted upon separately immediately following approval of items remaining on the consent calendar. Do you have a motion for the consent? Excellent. Do you have a second?
A second.
Motion by Group Berger and a second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 9A, medical staff report, recommendations from the medical executive committee for medical staff membership and work.
Madam President, board members, I thank you for this opportunity. I'm here representing the medical staff at Pioneers Hospital. We had a MEC meeting on July 15th, and so the summary of this has been presented to for you all. And I want to highlight some of the features. We did have the CEO from both the hospitals, Mr. Pavel Velez as well as Chris Bjornberg. There was a frank discussion among the MEC members as well as other physicians about concerns and questions and clarifications. So it was I believe, was a good discussion that went along. And on that note, we continue to have the meeting between the medical staff from both the hospitals. The next scheduled meeting is this next week, Tuesday, 29th, 6:30. It's to be held at Pioneer Auditorium. And it will be, we will report to you what the discussions were about. A number of policies were reviewed and approved and have been forwarded for the board approval. Several departments also had their individual meetings and they were closely reviewed. I want to highlight in the Department of Radiology, one of the technical issues that the technical personnel who does the nuclear medicine is always hard to get. And most of the time, it looks like we're getting the traveling personnel. And the person who was here for an extended period of time had some issues with stay and had to leave. And so right now it is covered by the traveling personnel. To my understanding, I don't believe they have a nuclear medicine tech at the health center. I'm subject to correction. So that's one of the issues and constraints of the radiology department. This was reviewed with the radiology chairman, and we are looking into solving that. This time we did not have any approval for any recommendations for credentials or bylaws. So mostly it was policies and general discussions. I request that the recommendations of the MEC meeting be approved, and I'm here for any questions or clarification. Thank you.
I just have a question on there. There was a reported increase in the number of C-sections. The numbers are trending above the national average on this quarter.
Thank you, ma'am, for that question. This was reported by the OB chairman, and Carol can expand more onto that. From the physician point of view, I believe there were, we don't know the exact reason. Obviously, they are being reviewed. Was it an isolated physician, one particular physician issue, or the kind of patients we see is also variable. And sometimes you may look on the number, oh, it's obvious that person is doing this or that. But when you go a little bit deeper, it may be that the variety of patients were different. So I do not have a clear explanation, but that's being reviewed. And this was discussed at length in the meeting. And then I will provide you further information.
Yeah, okay. So the data that was presented to the OB staff was from a maternal or collaborative MC, something like that. It's a collaborative. And we report data to them. And then we also have our quality system. It's called MIDA. And in looking at that data, it does look like there's a trend where it has gone up. And so we have a data abstractor that reviews that data. And it's also being reported to the quality team, and the OB doctors are reviewing it. It does appear that there is a trend with a couple of OB providers, but the OB medical staff is already reviewing the data. And just looking at the data last week, there might be a connection between infection and the need for C-sections, but it's not very clear yet because they've just started to look at it. We've had this happen once before a few years ago, and when we saw the trend going up, we started looking at it, trying to drill down, talking to the doctors, looking at the practices, and we were able to get it back down. Once we became the only maternal health center, we did notice that some of the things that we were doing really well on, those numbers started to go up. If you recall, when that happened, ECRMC had reported that some of their metrics for OB were a little bit higher than what they should have, and so some of that population is now coming to us. The biggest barrier, well, not barrier, but the biggest thing that has impacted us is a lot of the patients that are coming to us do not have any prenatal care. And so it's very difficult to manage them. So a lot of the times they come in, they haven't had the care that they need and they don't have a provider. So we kind of have to get caught up with all of that. And then we still, we receive a lot of patients from across the border that, again, the way they do things there is a lot different than the way that we do it here. And so their prenatal care is not the same as ours. So that's also a challenge. But it's something that's being reviewed by the OB staff. And I think once they fully understand why it's occurring, they'll be able to address it, especially since it seems to be just a couple of providers. Thank you.
A question, when they come from across the border, how do they pay for that service?
Well, that we do have a self-pay. I'm not, I can't tell you that all the ones that are coming across the border are part of the self-pay program, but many of them do want to be part of that self-pay. And so they will reach out to the finance department. There's a contract, like an agreement that they sign. They receive a certain care for the certain amount of money that they pay. And then if there's complications or anything out that's not included in that package, then they are billed for that.
Most of them are cash paying.
Yeah.
They have to pay the full of the district. Or I think we don't give their birth certificate, or there's something that we don't give them, so they want to pay for the cash to get.
They have to have a receipt to get the final back.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
that is
so they
correct.
have to pay us.
Because we've had some that call and say like, I need to pay this because I need to be able to pay it.
They also pay the fee for some.
Great.
Do you have any other questions? Not, do I have a motion?
Like you to accept the medical report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Goodsell, and a second by Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Nakai.
Thanks.
Move on to item B, authorization to approve emergency on-call for Dr. Athar. I'm sorry.
So yeah, this is just our on-call for them to be able to do some of those cardiac programs. It is $500 for every 24-hour period, but we've also put in there for the echoes and treadmill tests for them to read those from a diagnostic standpoint. There's a fee schedule for that as well.
The doctors bill for the professional service of the echoes and the signals.
Oh,
Or
no,
do we bill? for the-
we bill and we pay that.
We bill the global.
That's my understanding on the
We don't bill a global for it.
on the
No.
global for that
We
one.
only bill
Yeah, we only bill global when it comes to anything in our clinics. So when they come to outpatient or like an ER, it's always the physician that does their program.
I thought the treadmill was in the clinic though.
No, it's not in the clinic. We have to move it years ago now. Yeah, it's in the hospital.
Yeah, so you're paying them and then you're also putting the professional billing. Yeah.
That's very typical for cardiology services. They get a stipend to be on call.
Well, just, I understand the stipend, but as far as reading the echoes and treadmills and then billing as well, that was my question. And how often will we do that?
That, we don't know yet. It's probably like very rarely we'll probably see Ansari. Malik is the other one that's on there. That one would be more often than Ansari, but right now Malik is doing some proctoring over at ECRMC, and once he finishes that up, then he would get in the rotation. We figure out like what days he'll actually cover, and if Ansari is going to do any, what days he would actually cover, and then that would be put on the calendar.
And Dr. Sorry, it's just cardiologist, word certified.
Correct.
And then we move to interventional or situation.
That I'm not sure. I think I'm not.
Interventional, yeah. You could do diagnostics of the cath and stuff.
Oh, in the cath lab, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion?
I move that we approve letter B and C for on-call for answering and
Motion by Berger and second by Dixon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We'll move on to item B. Authorization to approve pain management professional service agreement with Anesthesia Medical Group of the Valley.
So I mean, technically, we don't have any because we use this group and they provide those services and we contract with them to bring them in. For Laura, most of the rest of the group that comes in is a CRNA as opposed to an anesthesiologist.
And the anesthesiologists, are they on call as well?
Yes. Okay, so they'll come in at night and cover those emergency surgeries. We have a scrub tech or a scrub team, surgery team that comes in, does that too. They're on call. So if something happens, they come in and they're just techs and everybody else that's part of that. Same with our SPD team for sterile processing.
Fifteen the relative value units and $25,000 per year.
No, up to.
Administrative compensation. Is it separate?
Yeah, so he's the director, medical director for that. So there is a separate stipend and then his RVUs. And so it depends on what he does, and it's capped up to 25,000.
How long has this contract been with us?
Since 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Have you marketed him at all? I'm really truthfully, I don't think people really know that he's there.
I don't know if we have. Not to the board, anyways.
I would like to see the clinic numbers for this vaccine and
See how we see. Okay.
Do you need them now? I can
You
provide.
might have. He's here for the clinical side.
Yeah, for the fiscal years, we saw 907. Given that Dr. Lara is only there Mondays for a 4-hour period, 1 to 5. So it's an average of 82 patients a month.
and the revenue.
I don't have.
That I have to look up.
I just want to know how much he makes.
So, you know, how big I was this the commercial or is it?
It's mixture.
Okay, I have to put that up, so I was gonna say, tell you those. Okay, medical, right here. Any more questions?
I move that we approve letter D.
I second.
Motion by Berger, second by Proctor, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries. Moving on to item B, review and approve the updated premium for Paisley agreed to response endorsement for Imperial Valley Healthcare District.
Okay, so you guys have actually already approved this, but you had approved 48,000, and when they actually sent us the invoice, it ended up being 54,000, so we just brought it back for reapproval with the updated dollar amount. This is our cyber coverage. And if you look at our write-up, it says the reason why it's a little bit more, after they did a detailed review of the application and they found that some of the multi-factor authentication that they'd asked for changed what that price was, so they have a little bit more of a risk, because we didn't have exactly, you know, all their A and Bs. We only had at ABC, we had like A and B, so they raised it a little bit because of the risk there. But we were told by IS that they are making changes, so next year it should go back down. For us.
That was my next question.
Yeah, there we go.
So you're going to resolve it.
Was it, do you think that like we did on our side to make it go up, or is it just?
No, they're just being stricter.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's the same company, it's the same thing, so yeah, there should be.
Okay.
Until you're in all care of the excluded factor.
Yeah.
And it's either email or text. It's not. Not just get in there.
General motion.
I mean, that we go ahead and approve. I didn't.
Have a second.
I second.
Motion by Goodson, second by Proctor, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries. So we're on to item F, approval of resolution number 2025-0724, resolution of the Imperial Valley Healthcare District Board of Directors authorizing the acquisition of.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take this one. The draft resolution is included in the agenda packet. It's short and sweet. Sorry, I'm looking for it right now. This is for here we go. This is a resolution authorizing the acquisition of the Per Plaza, which is a real property located at 1550 North Imperial Avenue in El Centro. The Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District Board of Directors approved a purchase agreement last, I believe, November or October, which is included in the agenda packet for $3.7 million for this ASC. We are at the precipice of closing on this building, but in order to get title insurance, the, title insurance company would like a resolution. And they also want to be clear that this board is also authorizing the purchase of that property since the transition has happened from the past board to this board. So they're interested in a piece of paper acknowledging that this board is approving the acquisition of the property and all of the obligations under the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement has a couple amendments because of the timing when we took over, when IVHD took over. We needed to extend out the inspection periods. We were on the brink of the 90 days and extend out a couple things. But everything has been resolved. And I believe we're ready to close. The only thing that's not explicitly in this resolution, you'll notice that section 2 of the resolution authorizes Chris or Carly or myself as appropriate to sign any and all related paperwork or authorizations necessary in order to satisfy the terms of the purchase agreement and this resolution. So, you know, that's like title docs and deeds and stuff like that. But one of the things that we wanted to include within the scope of the authorization is a management agreement for the property. Unless you would like us to bring that back if you want to look at it. I think that it falls within the scope of section 2 and it's something that the CEO should be sort of on top of and managing. The management agreement was drafted by council, just so you know that the management agreement, the person or entity we found was found by Progressive, which is the consultant who's been helping us with this deal and many other healthcare facilities and other issues. And he did like solicit multiple managers. This was before IVHD took over, and he's got someone on, got someone lined up to perform the management services. The management agreement would, you know, require the manager to abide by our procurement policy, and, you know, that person would get, I believe it's 5% in terms of payment for their services. So, you know, is this something that you're comfortable with Chris handling under the section 2 authorization, or me and Chris or Carly, you know, or do you want us to bring that management agreement back to this board as a separate agreement for approval?
I would prefer to see it.
Okay. How about the rest of you? Because we have it drafted, we can add it. And honestly, we would have added it today, but it was too late for the agenda posting. But we're, okay, well, we have this language that gives us kind of flexible authorization to execute stuff. But if this is outside that, we can bring it back at the August board meeting. We just want to make sure that at closing, we have a manager, we have a property manager online, so that if something comes up the day after closing, you know, something breaks or whatever, we have someone ready to handle all of that. So.
We have time.
We do have time. We would like to get it closed ASAP, and so would the seller. That's why we're sort of asking for it today, to be included within the scope of the resolution. But, you know, I do think this is one of those, like, it could be within the, you know, it is a management agreement. It could be included within the scope of this authorization or not, right? If you want to see it, we could bring it back for a separate approval, because it is 5% of a contract, and the contract value, I was trying to find what the contract value would actually be. It's not a lot.
Might even be within the signing.
Yeah, it might even be like,
If I
the
remember
signing
correctly.
authority is $50,000.
Local.
Yeah, I feel like it's,
Yeah, it's local.
yeah, he's
Oh,
local,
okay.
low, okay.
It's just a property management.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Correct, property management,
The piping, windows.
correct.
stuff like
Yeah.
Like making sure we have a janitor online, a landscaper online, if the plumbing breaks, you get the plumber, it's that kind of,
And I don't need to see it.
okay.
But you did ask about whether you, Carly, or Chris.
Yeah, so the section 2 language in the resolution says, resolved, IVHD Board of Directors hereby authorizes the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and/or General Counsel as appropriate to authorize and sign any and all related paperwork and authorizations necessary in order to satisfy the terms of the purchase agreement. I would just ask that we, if the board is inclined to approve this resolution today, add the line, including execution of a management agreement, a property management agreement to the resolution, so that the minutes can reflect that. We'll just add that sentence to the end of this resolution and before we sign it.
Okay. Have any other questions? No motion?
Make a motion to approve, resolution 2025-0724 with the addition of the authorization in section 2 to include the wording and to also include the management.
Including execution of a property management.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
What she said.
The number needs to be changed, though, right? It's 2025, right?
Yeah, it's correct in the agenda packet.
Yeah, it's on the resolution.
Yeah,
It's correct.
the
It
actual-
just wasn't on the description.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just a typo on the agenda, but the actual resolution in the packet is correct.
okay, thank you.
I second. I have a motion by Goodson, a second by Berger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We'll move on to item G, discussion and possible action to modify regular board meetings.
So this item is was brought to the board last meeting because we have the ACHD conference in August. And there are two, and August is also the last
September.
month. Sorry?
September.
Oh, I'm sorry, September. Thank you.
There's a DHL conference at the beginning of August.
Okay.
So that's.
Okay, so there's currently, you'll recall that the board meeting dates that the board approved in January for the year, or I think we modified it in February, right after the term sheet approval. We went to 2 meetings a month. Did that for 6 months. So the last month that has 2 meetings per month is August. So the next board meeting date, I'll just read them. They're on the website. It's August 14, August 28, then September 11, October 9, November 13, December 11. So I think the 2, maybe even 3 considerations for the board today is whether A, to stick with that schedule, or B, do you want to continue 2 board meetings a month through the end of the year, for example, or not? And then if so, in light of the MEC meeting, which is the 3rd week of the month, right?
Tuesday, third Tuesday.
3rd Tuesday of the month. Instead of, when we go back to once a month, it's the 2nd Thursday of the month. So do we want, right now it's the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. So instead of going to the 2nd Thursday of the month, if we're gonna go down to 1 meeting a month, it is recommended to have it be the 4th Thursday of the month instead of the 2nd, so that you can include the MEC requests and recommendations.
And finances will be.
And
done by then.
financials will be more prepped.
I'm almost inclined to keep the 2 a month, which I'm probably the first to say I hate. But until the rest of the year, we're gonna be, I mean, I don't like calling special meetings all the time, and fingers crossed we're gonna be in escrow.
Right.
I feel like there's gonna be a lot, but I think, you know, the ACHD, I mean, we could leave it the same for September and just have it the meeting on the 11th, and then when we come back on October 9th, then just have the finances and the MEC then. So you do. And then they'd only be 2 weeks behind some people a month.
So
But
let me look
I
at
would
a
say
calendar.
to tell, you know, Dr. Inamara, like, no, that's how people take it. Appropriate, you know.
The main issue would be if board doesn't approve, then we have to award locum temporary privileges for, it's okay to do for a couple of times, but it becomes
This would be
very
one.
issue.
Yeah.
I think
this
it's
was supposed to
doable.
be in September, and so just make note that, you know, August, our second meeting in August, you have to get them ready. If not, they won't be approved until October 9th.
Right. So there will be, so the board proposed meeting dates would be after today, August 14, August 28, September 11, October 9, October 23rd, November 13. So November 27 is Thanksgiving Day.
Perfect.
So we can take that one off or pick another date.
Potluck.
Well, I mean, I don't know, we were just kind of.
You could do it like on the Tuesday if you need
Yeah,
to.
you could do it on the,
Can we just play it by ear until special meeting?
yeah, right, you could just, I'm saying, to the extent we're gonna modify the regular board meeting calendar, maybe we don't list November 29th, and then if we need a meeting after November 13th, the board can call a special meeting for another date that last week.
Well, we have the same issue in December because.
Yeah, the holiday months are difficult.
Yeah, so, November and December, I would say have the first ones and then just kind of play it by ear. If MEC has something, we just call a special meeting.
Got it.
If something comes up, we just call a special meeting.
Got it. So essentially, we're just adding one more regular board meeting date, which would be October. Wait,
In September.
23rd.
September and October.
Well, not
No,
September,
just-
right?
yeah,
Because
so-
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it would just be October
October.
23rd. And then November once a month, December once a month.
Which that date potentially would be hopefully the auditors doing their presentation.
Okay.
To you guys, because they're supposed to usually be done by the end of October. So, yeah, that works.
Where would we have that meeting?
So, we've been alternating between, Pioneers Calexico, Pioneers El Centro, Pioneers Calexico, Pioneers El Centro. So that one would be El Centro. September 11 would be Pioneers.
Can we just start, like, 10 years old since we're close to 10 years old?
Yes.
That has to be so messed up. You're not gonna want to buy 10 years.
Yes, instead of Pioneers every other, Pioneers every third. Okay, so then it would go Pioneers El Centro, so September 11 would be Calexico. October 9 would be Pioneers. October 23rd would be El Centro.
We do not want to see.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
yeah, we can change all the El Centro locations to ECRMC
Yes.
instead of the city hall.
I'll be for that.
Yes.
Great, okay.
Definitely.
So then that modification will be August 28th will be ECRC instead of El Centro. October 23rd will be ECRC. November 13 will be Calexico. December 11 will be Pioneers. So, yeah, and we'll change the El Centro location on the board meeting dates and locations to be ECRMC instead of El Centro City Hall.
Can you repeat them just to make sure I got them?
Yes, I'm gonna repeat them. So we have August 14, Pioneers, August 28, ECRMC, September 11, Calexico, October 9, Pioneers, October 23rd, ECRMC, November 13th, Calexico, December 11, Pioneers. And then if there needs to be special meetings, the board can, will also be, I just want to bring to your attention, will also be in this timeframe, having at least probably one or two community meetings, both for a strategic planning purpose and for facilities master planning with our consultant. So that PSA with the consultant, my general counsel update was finalized today.
So you have a motion to approve.
I move to approve the revised board meeting schedule as presented by legal.
Second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Valdez. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to management reports. We'll start with finance with funding report.
Okay, if you guys, I think it's page 6 in, we'll start with the narrative. So for the month of June, we did have a loss of about $61,000 The biggest differences in this is our professional fee line has gone up a lot, what's in there is our legal fees, our audit fees. BRG is in there and obviously our physician fees. So I know at least one that did get an incentive through the year, so that one did increase substantially. This number is just a pre-audit number, the loss, we haven't done most of our reconciliations on supplemental payments. I'll give you an example. Our QIP program, we accrue 6 metrics are met throughout the year. We actually met 8 as far as it gets through the audit. So if everything works out for the audit, then that will be an increase of revenue for this year. Those things you'll see, obviously, like I said, in October, the auditors will present the finals to you. I'll keep you guys updated as things transition into that. We usually have to give them our final item for our P&L to the auditors by August. So I can also report if there's, a big increase or decrease. There really shouldn't be much of a decrease because I do know I have some of those pickups coming. So you can see here the net profit. Like I said, it's kind of an up and down. You can tell obviously all these graphs in the narrative, you'll see the ups in the winter. We have higher census, we have higher expenses and revenues because of the higher census, and obviously we have a higher profit, and everything kind of just goes down during the summer times. So if you want to go to the next page that talks about your patient volumes, we did exceed budget, but we were a little bit lower than prior month. Obviously, like I said, as we go into the summertime, our census tends to go down. But if you'll look at the red columns are actually your skilled nursing. It stayed pretty consistent. We fairly go up and down from an average daily census is in the low 70s. But our patient days is in the blue. You'll see, like I said, that increase in the winter and it goes down to the summer. And actually our June is higher than what we're usually used to, because usually you would see that May, June kind of going down, but we actually had an increase this year. If you want to go to the next page, this is just gives you more detailed of our key operating statistics at deliveries, ERs, budget compared to prior year. And then I gave you guys the graph so you can kind of see same type of graph of the other ones that increase in the winter and the down in June, but they're kind of staying pretty much steady. You don't have any huge increases from like month to month over the departments. The next page we talk about, there's a summary of our expenses. The revenue and expenses, you'll see there that what I was talking about, the professional fees, actual is 2218, budget's 2243. We've been running about 1400. So like month over month, we did increase by about 780,000 in that one. Again, you can see not much changes on the revenue and expenses. It does fall in line with how we're seeing everything. Our bond covenants for days cash on hand for the month of June is at 73.4. And our June debt service coverage ratio is at 2.18. We need to keep 50 days cash on hand for the bonds and 0.2 for the debt service coverage ratio. So for our fiscal year, we should have no problems hitting those bond covenants based off of preliminary audit numbers. The last graph on the page, this will tell you our fiscal year to date. Currently, we're at 5.6 million profit. Like I said, I do anticipate that to increase once we reconcile everything else. It is lower than last year. Salaries is the highest one, the pro fees and some repairs and maintenance, as described in other meetings. We do have some of those softwares that were doubled up as we transition from one system to the next. So those numbers should go a little bit better this next year.
We also had last year, 3.5 million for the settlement, 340B settlement that went into that number as well.
Oh, last year, yes.
Yeah.
We did have prior year recoveries, about 4 million. This year we have 2.5, so there's a little bit, yeah. And do you guys have any questions?
Appreciate the graphs.
You're welcome.
Here's some topics. This one. You have an update for
Yes, I do not.
us? We have an update for the urgent care.
I'll do like a meeting with our CEO, just over some of the, Dr. Tyson called me yesterday, wanted me to go over some issues, he's concerned about the south side, I'll meet with our CEO and then we'll present at our next meeting.
There's no question. Did we get a signed agreement on the lease amendment?
I think. Let me check. I think it might be sitting with Mr. Tyson. There was, a hiccup on the language with respect to the use of the south side. But
Yeah, he wanted it changed and we went back and forth on it and made a minor adjustment that we would be okay with, but I don't think we've heard anything back from him on that.
so I will report back at the next board meeting to confirm it has been signed, but we do have a signed version of the agreement from Mr. Tyson, but we haven't signed it because we need to change the use.
Has he started paying, for the lease yet?
Yes. So we got the information over to him to send over his first payment. He's doing that based off of the new agreement, so I'm assuming he's
How
gonna
much is it?
6,000.
So yeah, it's just based off the square footage of the.
Right, and it's based
Yeah.
on square footage. I want to say it's. Yeah, in the avenue of. $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Hold on, just make sure.
He's just over a dollar and something a square foot, and I think,
That's cheap.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very intentionally, I think.
That's to help him be able to,
Essentially,
Right, sure.
the subsidized rent is. kind of
Yeah.
my Understanding. So how long is that?
So here we go. It's
5 years with an option to extend another 5, I believe.
That $1 square foot?
so
Yeah.
it's $2,868 per month for the north side. And then it's another, it's the full amount of pay is $8,250 per month.
So this is kind of, I'm gonna sound like a jerk in the sticky question right now, since we don't have a signed agreement with him, is he due the full rent?
Yeah, arguably, well, so that is, one could make that argument.
but technically,
One could also say that he didn't have access to the south side until June. So his 5-month rent abatement, which was not clear on whether it was entirely abated or only abated upon access, which is a reasonable assumption, but it wasn't that rent abatement, which was like the first thing this board ratified that was by the Heffernan board, didn't clarify the abatement issue. So the deal is we're gonna agree to abate the rent for 5 months on the south side, starting on the day he had access, which is not until June. But if you read that rent abatement agreement a different way, you could argue rent's due on the whole building. And the thing is that the version of the amendment that the board approved at the board meeting of June, whatever, 26th, the board approved that version of the amendment. Mr. Tyson modified it and sent back a signed version of a modified version of the amendment. It's inconsistent with the version that the board approved. So it's like, we can't sign that. That's not what the board approved. And if it's something minor that, okay, fine, but if it changes the terms, our argument is we gotta bring it back to the board, right? Because it would modify the terms of the lease. So we just have to make Mr. Tyson understand that.
So he's gonna have a 5-year lease at $1 per square.
well, it's a little more than that. It's like a dollar and some change, but essentially, yeah.
Say it's like
For
a
5
dollar,
years.
$1.20.
Yeah. Guys agreed on that?
I think
That was part of
I
the,
think they took, it was from the Heffernan rate, so they took the total amount and then they divided it to the north and south side and
Did the same.
It's a square footage.
yeah, we did it by the
correct.
square footage.
Mhm.
Remember that was,
I wasn't there, but she's.
oh, it was fine.
Discussion.
It was, one that we inherited from Heffernan. I think Heffernan's intention was, subsidize rent in a building to be able to provide more healthcare services in Calexico.
Mhm.
I don't think we had a choice.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
Is he open? What's his hours? Is he open every day?
Monday through Friday.
Friday.
He's not on the weekend.
He's talking about a second option. That's why I want to meet with our CEO to go over what he's proposing. And obviously we have to address the agreement first and then talk about other options that need to come to you for you to discuss. But he's trying to do a hybrid plan where they put in primary care, which I believe he has discussed with our CEO before. And then the urgent care to accommodate more hours and be able to pick up more clients, because right now, at the number of clients they're not seeing a full break even according to him yesterday. So, you know, I think that, I didn't have that conversation with the first person, I think you can present to the board. Yeah, but that's something entirely different than the agreement, right? So the agreement is one thing, and I think that what he plans to do, he has to abide by the agreement. If he wants any change, it needs to come to the board like any other change in
So
agreement.
he's gonna put in a primary care, or we're gonna put in?
No, he would.
No, he wants.
It's his brother-in-law or something like that he wants to put in there. And it's based off the fact that he would have it through one of the IPAs that we don't have a contract with. And that would be the only providing, service that would be provided, would just be for the IPA.
But I think we not have a contract.
I think it's PPC.
Yeah,
I mean, we need primary care. Why would we?
Well, we have it over there,
It
exactly.
doesn't matter what we have. I think that he wants to put in a primary care, it should be our interest.
Right. And that's what we said, and that's the whole issue with the contract.
The
Like-
root of the dispute.
Yes, because we're saying if we provide the service, you can't provide the service. If we don't provide the service, then we can have a conversation.
It says, the version that the board approved says, the permitted use of the south side shall be strictly limited to a facility for specialty healthcare services, a pharmacy, and an urgent care. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the south side use shall not include any use related to providing medical or healthcare services otherwise offered by lessor or any affiliate of lessor. That's the sort of quasi non-compete, but we don't like to call it a non-compete.
Because it's getting it. It's like, its rent is being subsidized. So that's part of the whole deal with that. It's like, don't provide services that we're providing, you provide services that are not being provided. And that's why you're being subsidized this rent this way.
Yeah, because you would also argue sort of the reduced rent is a goodwill determination for the value of the property. And you're not going to, especially as a public entity, do business with someone that then will use your facility to devalue your business somewhere else, right? To like provide competing services.
I understand that, but I mean, I knew the doctor is, if he's interested in having primary care, I don't know why we're not having a conversation with him.
I already did. I told him he could come to the clinic and provide the services there at our clinic, because my understanding from him is, even though he doesn't come right out and say it, is that he's paying this guy. And because he's paying this guy, he wants him to provide services. And that's why he wants him to do the primary care. And I'm like, oh, we have a clinic over there. We can hire him over there and pay him. You don't have to worry about it. He can provide primary care services over there. And that's
also.
right, but he wants to do primary care. And that's what he has hired him to do.
Well, we need to have a different conversation tomorrow. Sorry.
Well, at the time, remember, when we built that clinic, the urgent care center, it was for servicing primary care for the people of Mexico. We weren't involved with IG, 918 yet, so that's what the reason we leased that property at the time, so we could provide the services.
And that's in the first contract?
No, the first contract also has permitted use of specialty healthcare services and urgent care. And I believe, I have to look up the lease, hold on, I can find it right now. There's definition of what the permitted use is. And I don't think the permitted use says primary care.
I think it spelled out that it was for hyperbarics, radiology, CT specifically, and
I believe there was like hours too, and it was like a level 3 urgent care. There's.
and it was supposed to get to the point where, it was 7 days a week even.
Like.
the ramp up.
try to make it work. And so,
I think it should mirror the grant, whatever the grant states, should we at least mirror that and go to the services you agreed on?
Well, and I believe it does, because because you got the 400 and something thousand, right? I don't believe so. No, I don't think. It was urgent care, because that was the idea was help the people in the community to have access to urgent care, not necessarily primary care, because there's no ER or anything like that there. And so that was the idea of what.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
definition between urgent care and primary.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The
So-
agreed use in the lead, the definition of agreed use is an urgent care facility, period. So,
Well, maybe you should be having a different conversation.
And is it still
I'm
using,
not operating that.
is it still using the pharmacy part of the building? Wait,
What was that?
is it still using the pharmacy side of the building?
No. He wants to. That's what he wants to put. And that's where he wants to put some of the primary care is on that side where the pharmacy.
The pharmacy is a different deal.
Right.
Definitely, so, supposed to manage that.
Yeah, that's what we
Right
tried.
now.
That's.
Primary care is interesting.
Go down.
We need primary care.
So out.
So,
Out.
have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then. Dr. Beckman,
You're welcome.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, so,
Thank you, Thomas.
do you have any other questions? So now we'll move on to CEO update.
So a couple things, we did, all staff meeting last week, just, I know, some of you, had the opportunity to get on and see that, but, for the most part, it was pretty good but there's a lot of misinformation out there right now. A lot of rumors, that are floating out there. One of the prior or just before this happened, there was that list that came out about hospitals that were on the list to close. And so everybody thought that we were going to close because we're on this rural hospital list of that are going to close. So we had to talk about that. We have other rumors about that we're closing down the Pioneers campus altogether and turning it into a nursing home. There are, I mean, there's a lot of rumors floating around out there right now. Some of that has to do with things that are also kind of floating around on social media, misinformation that's happening there as well. Today we did circulate, you guys probably saw it in your emails as well, the approved social media plan or policy, excuse me, and the little blurb that went along with that was also in the safety huddle. We went over that again so that everybody understood kind of the idea behind that they can't be doing anything in their private accounts and saying, thus saith IVHD. So they can't have any way, shape, or form can it come across that they're representing or saying anything for IVHD. And so we had those conversations with people and also about misinformation part of that. So that piece went out. Hopefully that will help. In there, in that email, it also talked like if they had any other questions, they can reach out to me and I'll have those conversations with them as well. So hopefully we'll be able to once the ATA is done, that will help out quite a bit. A lot of the work that Pablo and I have done and the rest of the team as well, we kind of have like this line that we're up to that line and we can't really go beyond that line until the ATA is done. And once the ATA is done, we can go beyond that line, which will help answer a lot of those questions. Right now, we can't give answers to some of those questions until we get past that point. And we can start to do more of those things. And so we're kind of sitting there at this point and but trying to do what we can as far as answering any of those questions. And there were several that we were able to answer and hopefully help out some of the staff from that meeting. The morning meeting was definitely a lot more in that one. In particular, there were some comments in there about UCSD had to lay off those 200 people because they're bailing out IVHD over here in the Imperial Valley. That has nothing to do with any of that. So, like as you can imagine, there's like all sorts of stuff that's floating around out there. And so,
Percent of Medicare patients are members.
oh yeah, 99% of Medicaid patients or Medicare patients were going to lose their coverage. Just weird stuff like that,
It's the big.
yeah. Yeah, well, and then, like a lot of people, even the paper, they're saying Medicare as opposed to Medicaid or Medi-Cal for us. And even that, it's a percentage of that percentage, because it's undocumented, is really going to hit first before the other stuff does. So, so there's a lot of stuff like that. We were able to answer some of those questions. We're going to continue to do that, obviously. And we have the opportunities as well as going to their department meetings and have those conversations with them in that capacity as well, trying to, dispel as much of it as we possibly can. But as we go through this process, there's just going to be more and more because people have uncertainty on certain things. And so, sometimes the best story you come up with is the one that you come up with. And that's usually what ends up happening. And then it kind of takes off and has a mind of its own. And so we'll have some of that stuff that will play out throughout this whole process, regardless of how often we meet with people and have these conversations. So we're just staying up on top of it as much as possible.
That reporter see get things right.
Yeah.
Even in that letter that the city of El Centro wrote, I mean, they put some stuff in there about employees and stuff like that that should not have. Because it's really causing what problem.
I mean, I think the biggest issue with all of it is like, this has taken so long, right? And so
Makes it
people are
hard.
making up their own stories, right? They've been making up and the story has evolved, since we kind of took office of what's good, you know what I mean? And so it's,
Or activate launch now. So I think this is over the he takes it out of context or something different. So I think we have to use several modes of communicating with the employees so that squash those.
I think like the master planning portion of it, I got asked several times, so here's one was like, oh, you're closing these CRC. I'm like, why would we do a transfer agreement and close it? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard,
They read the agreement.
Right.
Yeah. But, anyways, yeah, so, and then, the thing turning PMH into a nursing home. Have you seen the master planning agreement? I haven't out there. So, but I've just been like, unless you see it in writing in official capacity, for the most part, it's hearsay.
I agree with probably we need to, if we leave any void, it's gonna get filled with negativity, and we have so much positives moving forward that people need to know and understand. And if the truth and positivity get out there, that takes the legs out from under the void filled with negativity.
I do have to say, I did receive a couple of emails and they were just fact checking. Just hey, did this really happen? No, it didn't happen. So they said, okay, fine. So there was a couple of emails that I got and I was just like, that's untrue. It's didn't happen.
That people actually ask.
Yeah, they didn't say, hey,
They were like, don't ask, they just roll with it.
Right.
But they are the ones that actually ask.
I believe that as long as the leadership, you guys are consistent in the messaging and it follows the things that we've been doing. All of those fears that they have, I think a lot of it has to do with the fears by the employees and staff, et cetera. But as long as our messaging is consistent about what we're actually doing, then I too got emails and calls, and what I said is, well, whoever wrote that letter from North Central, then you need to take it up with them because our messaging has always been consistent. And to your point, sometimes it is good to respond, but sometimes it's not because then it appears as if you're just kids, you know, and we don't want to do that. So, and we have a great attorney and we do when, you know, things when we have to do them. But I do appreciate the leadership in, you know, holding the, on and passing on now.
And also, the master planning process, we had a kickoff call last week with PMA. They will be out next week to do their first kind of walkthrough, both facilities. Obviously, a majority of the time spent at the Pioneer campus and looking at what has to happen there. They've got a big old questionnaire and a bunch of things that they want from our various different groups to fill out. So we're in the process of getting that done right now as well. So we can kick that off and get it going pretty quickly. So, and then today I also signed the paperwork for the grant monies that we talked about that we received. And so once those things are done and we have an actual bill on those, we can submit and get reimbursed for that. And it is something that we can, again, as we have more expenditures associated with this, we can put in for that as well. So as things go above that dollar amount, we can try and get those monies as well. So we will do that as we go through the process. And then kind of right along with that, we did get a facility director hired. He actually starts on the 18th of August. He'll be here on Monday to do some of his paperwork. He's actually coming to us from Las Vegas. So he's very familiar with the dry heat that we have and kind of the area. So that'll be good. Tons of experience. Both teams were very happy with him and what he's going to be able to bring. A lot of project management experience as well, which we're going to need through this project. And obviously, so we're pretty excited to have him on finally and be able to get that piece going for the facility. So that's my report at this point.
I have a question. Oh, sorry. No. If you have city operations. What? No.
She normally does the main one.
Yeah.
So we've had people like, so this guy's moving from Las Vegas, so do we like help them with their moving expenses or anything like that?
Yep. Most of those type of positions, we offer like a relocation package with that. So
What is, well, I've seen different types of being from the military and then being from law enforcement. There's different types of plans for relocation. Like for the highway patrol, it was you get, if you promote or take a position somewhere else, you'll get maybe 30 days relocation while I'm staying in a hotel, look for a place to stay. But I know in some places it's only like 2 weeks, or they'll help you with the moving expenses.
it's moving expenses. Yeah, moving expenses.
And that's it.
Generally,
Does he get a sign-on bonus? Nothing like that.
no.
Is that consistent with the way we've done things for all people?
Yeah, some, depending on what it is, don't even get a relocation. It just,
Carmen?
Hmm?
Did you say something?
There's been, it depends sometimes also on the, I didn't say anything, but because we did have, we've had directors before, if it's hard to pay for them, then they might have like a sign-on bonus. But then there's like an agreement that's made that they're gonna stay with us for a certain amount of time.
I know, like, I've worked at a company before and they would like pay like some of, 6 months or like 12 months of like your rent as you're doing there? Do we do things like that?
Not generally, very rarely. It's only like certain positions that they'll do that way.
Do we have any of those right now?
And so what is the plan for the new person that's coming in? What is the moving, or is it just moving expenses in terms of like, what is it?
Yeah, so he just has relocation that it reimburses him for his relocation expenses.
I know, but what are those relocation expenses consist of? Is it like just moving this furniture?
It usually has stuff in there like or yeah, moving his stuff. If some of it has to be in storage for a certain time, it'll have some of that component in there, and it has a cap.
The fuel, like all stuff.
Yeah,
What's the cap? What's
5,000.
5,000?
So like earlier, you said that some people get something different. Are those people also 5,000?
No, it a lot of it depends on like distance, right? Like you saw the one that's coming in position. That one that we have for the provider is different than this one for a facilities director. And so they're going to be position specific. It'll also be based off of how far they may have to move on what we would do. Some of it, like how hard the position is to fill, they may have like a sign-on bonus associated with that. And we usually will put out a position for a certain amount of time. And then if we can't, then we add those other things on there to try and entice people to come on from that standpoint. We don't usually just start by putting them on right away. It just depends on, again, the position and like from the relocation, where they might be coming from. Because all that stuff, they still end up, like, it's still taxed. So we gotta be mindful of that as well.
I did have one other question about the nursing home. That's why I was asking if we were having clinics. The air conditioner, is it?
Monday, it starts the kickoff for that. They'll have the group in there. So they'll finish it about the time that they don't need it.
So when is was it the health department that came, or who was it who came?
I think it was the health department.
When are they coming back?
That would be after it's all done, and after they have everything finished, they would let them know, and then they would come and give them the thumbs up on all that. So everything has to be finished first before and signed off. Like HCI will have to sign off on the project, like this finalized. And then after that piece is done, then we let CDP know, and then they come in and do their piece that says, yeah, you can use it now for this service.
Thank you.
There any way we can see like employees who have like separate contracts, that do you get like the relocation expenses, that way we can kind of see like, you know, what positions, that way we can kind of get like a feel for it? See if we could possibly like standardize it, that way, you know.
We have a standard agreement for relocation.
Yeah.
And then the bonuses are part of, if it's a high fulfilled position, then you list the bonus on the
Salary scale.
position outline.
Yeah.
So that everybody gets the same, or if they want to negotiate something different because they're from a different state, then you have the flexibility of this is the standard, and then, you know, we could make arrangement for something different.
Yeah, like contracting, here's your offer.
Yeah.
Let's negotiate.
How many employees approximately right now do we have that have a relocation type of package, stipend, et cetera, going to them?
I think he would be the only one at this point.
It would be the only.
Yeah, we don't have anybody else that we've,
It's not typical for staff, yeah. It's doctors, it's different, but.
yeah.
Carly, do
We
you
do
know?
have one rental. We pay rent towards, unless you canceled it,
Rental for what?
pay for their rent.
He's still contracted.
He's listed as an employee.
I think that's how they set the thing up. I don't know how Charity did that. Because once he's done, it becomes like a non-contracted or whatever, then that goes away. It's just how she did it. I don't know.
Who is he?
He's the nursing home administrator.
How long has he been?
A little over a year now.
Yeah, I want to say last spring he started. I can't remember. when it
Yeah,
was.
it's like
almost
April,
Yeah,
April, May.
So in a situation like that, would be paying rent on a monthly basis.
It's based off of however they set it up. Like Charity's the one that set up our previous CHRO. So when they come in contracted, then some of them are contracted as an I-9, some of them are contracted as an employee. I don't know how she did that, but that's how they did that. And so they have certain contracts, the way that one's set up, that they get reimbursed for their expenses until, for the duration of that, however that contract is set up.
What's the rent? How much is the rent? According, you know,
1,200 maybe, I think.
I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
It's 1,200.
So this is longer than a year though, that we're paying someone's rent?
it's long. But I'd like to see that contract. Because I don't see how it, like, say, for example, this other person that we're bringing in from Las Vegas, if he wanted something like that, I would be like, yeah, but you're not gonna get your rent paid right here
Right,
on IVHD, you know what I mean?
right.
I'd like to see that contract, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
And where does in your paperwork, where is that accounted for? The rent, for example?
You mean not on the financial?
Yeah.
Actually, because that gets paid through a paycheck. So check request that comes, so it's on the salaries,
Because it's taxed.
because you have to tax it. So anything that we give to like relocation, the only thing that's not taxed is cell phone reimbursements, but like if you get a car allowance, relocation, kind of all of those are taxed, so they go through the salaries. It could be under the benefits, under the other section, but it's still all within that salaries and contract expense line.
How long has it been here?
12 years.
You seen anything like that in the past where we've paid something like that, like the rent or something?
The former CFO, we paid like 6 months worth. I think we paid 6 months for him.
About a year and a half now.
Not that I'm aware.
Are we on a condo with the doctors?
And some of them stay for free, yeah. Like, so like Damone stayed, in our house for free for, I mean, he wasn't here all the time. He was here for a little bit over a year. And so when he was on campus, he would stay.
He was
in that house.
contracted as well.
He wasn't a salaried employee, so we could have a contract for him.
I think, I mean, you see what I'm saying, there are a few houses that were the same reasons.
Yeah.
He's got on most consulting contracts, the lodging, travel, meals is in the contract.
But this person is not a contractor, it's an employee, right?
Is he an employee or?
He shows us.
Yeah.
So
Probably don't want to get too far into the weeds on a potential employee issue. Maybe we can connect offline, or you can connect directly with Chris and Carly offline, just because of the open public session and employee privacy stuff. If this person is an employee, which I don't know anything about this person, but yeah.
I think some of this can get ironed out as we merge.
Right.
Right.
If we
because it
talk
sounds
about,
like
the next
we're gonna
item,
Be standardizing.
I will give you an update. Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Thank you.
a lot has changed. You're up, making.
Sure, okay, so my update on along these lines, the general counsel for ECRMC and I have been in touch about reviewing contracts. We're forming a contract review team for both organizations to determine which should be assigned, consolidated, terminated. This is gonna go hand in hand nicely with our bylaws committee and the rewriting of the bylaws. And then on the operational side, Pablo and Chris, the rewriting of the MEC bylaws. So we have a tentative contract review team consisting of administration, finance, human resources, legal, clinical services, clinical operations, physician services, IS services, contracting, and quality and education. So that ball is rolling on that, and we will start having meetings with the various groups to discuss efficiencies, coordination, and harmonization of procedures and contracts. So stuff about HR, for example, We'll figure out how the ECRMC doing it, how are we doing it? Pick one or merge them, figure out how we want to do it for the combined organization so that the cleanup we have to do, which, you know, Chris and I have been sort of talking about HR type policies for a while now, but it's like, well, we don't want to do it twice, right? And waste a bunch of attorney time doing it twice. So let's do it once for the combined organization. And I think at this point, we've hit that point. So that is a discussion that we're having, and that will be an exciting next step we're gonna start doing it now, but the idea was to start doing it during escrow. But we're hopeful that escrow will begin on Monday if and when the city approves the ATA.
This is all service lines, right? All service line contracts, you're gonna be looking, including UCSD.
Okay, perfect one.
That'd be-
And then, so sort of similarly, although the timing will be slightly different, we had a very productive call, Chris and myself, along with Patty and Pablo and the legal counsel for UCSD on these and other issues, JPA issues. And we also met with BRG to go through the current state of the model and strategic planning progress. And one of the things that was mentioned in that call that I've connected with UCSD about is getting an independent person to do a confidential third-party review of the payer contracts for both ECRMC and Pioneers. Probably it makes sense to do this a little bit closer to closing. But the idea is UCSD has a consultant that they use who they say is just like top-notch, excellent at this, who can review and analyze the two hospitals' payer contracts in a confidential, like clean room, virtual room, so that they can advise us on how to best renegotiate those contracts moving forward. You know, see who's getting the best deal on what and how to marry those. So that's also something that's going to be happening that we're coordinating with UCSD on. As I mentioned earlier, we finalized the terms of the PMA Facilities Master Plan Agreement today. We just need to get that signed. So I'm going to send it to their legal and administrative folks for DocuSign tomorrow. So that's good. And then the last item on my update is to let you know that 10 days ago, SB 558 was approved by the governor. That is a bill that affects this district because it authorizes the members of this initial board of directors to run for election if and when your voting district is up. So initially under AB 918, you were ineligible, and now you're eligible to be elected by the voters of your district. So that's exciting. And that is my report for today. I'll jump back in after item 11.
Do you have any items for future agenda?
Okay, so with that in mind, I sent this to Brenda so the minutes can reflect this, but we have to make the following verbal announcement during the open and public session. Pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, the board will now break into closed session, both for the closed session described on the agenda and to discuss with its negotiators regarding the price and terms for the purchase of El Centro Regional Medical Center and ancillary facilities. The address of the facilities are 1415 Ross Avenue, El Centro, California 92243. The agency's negotiators are the AB 918 Ad Hoc Committee, Catherine Burnworth, James Garcia, and Laura Goodsell, Chris Bjornberg, CEO, myself as legal counsel, and the parties with whom our negotiators are negotiating are the City of El Centro staff and legal counsel and ECRMC CEO and legal counsel. We can break into closed session now.